Hello,
Hello.
I'm here again with Colton Lilico for our sixth and final daily reflection and commentary on our adventure in Central Europe. So today was very much like yesterday, day 5, in that we again stayed in Berlin to explore the city, see the sights, and learn about its very rich history. To start off the day, we took a bus to Berlin Hauptbahnhof, which is, of course, Berlin's central station, central train station. And from there, we walked to the River Spree, where we boarded a boat on which we took a tour of the city on the water.
Yes, we saw many of the landmarks in Berlin from the river. We had seen many of these landmarks before on previous days, but we got a new perspective on them. Some of these include the Bundestag, the University of
The Berlin University of Technology.
yes, which was very cool, very modern. And we saw the Museum Island, which is the island of which many museums reside in Berlin.
And that is just fantastic, that there is an actual museum island. First of all, that there are enough museums to fill an island, not a huge island. You know, I mean, we're not talking like Vancouver Island here. We're talking like Anarchist Island, but I mean, it's still an island in the middle of the River Spree, and it's a fair landmass there, and there are so many museums to see. We only got to see one, but and we'll get to that later. But you know, the very existence of Museum Island, I was talking to Mr. McFadden, and we were saying it's like something out of a fairy tale, that there's such a thing as Museum Island. And the museums, of course, are all so beautiful in their architecture, and of course in their contents. And it's a nice contrast to the stark modernity of the university that Colton mentioned earlier. After our boat tour on the River Spree, we took a train from the Bundestag, which is the parliamentary building, of course, to the Unter den Linden Street, which Unter den Linden, of course, means under the linden, and linden is, of course, a type of tree that they have very plentiful in Berlin, not so plentiful in Vancouver, though. And this street is, of course, lined with these linden trees, which is why it is called Under the Linden Trees Street. An interesting note about this train that we took from the Bundestag to the Unter den Linden Street station is that our guide, Sylvie, commented that it was very useless.
Well, not exactly useless, it was just overdone. It was actually one of the nicest underground train stations there in Berlin. You just go down and there'd be these really modern pillars with these lights in it. It looked very nice, it looked very cool, but it was empty and the train was very small. And
there were hardly any occupants either. Sylvie actually correctly estimated that there would be no more than 10 occupants in 3 cars of a U-Bahn train, and she was absolutely right. There, I think that they totaled 8 before we got on, our big group of 15 people, including our teachers and Sylvie herself. And so yeah, she got very dramatic about that. In that one entire side of the tracks was fenced off because you didn't need it. You only had to have one side running back and forth. And so yeah, that was very fun though. It only took one stop to get to Untred and Linden Streets, and then we arrived at the old library, in front of which was the book burning square and also a memorial to that event. Now, if you know a bit about the history of Nazi Germany, and I'm sure you do, you'll know that the Nazis organized book burnings, particularly of books that they disagreed with, or from authors that they disagreed with. And this old library, which is no longer a library, but it used to be, it was one of the locations for one of the more significant burnings. So in the courtyard, there was a glass square, just in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of all cobblestone, and Sylvie directed us to look down it, and to look at a bit of an angle down it, and what we saw was very intriguing.
Yes. So on this clear surface that was transparent, and you could see a room underneath. At first glance, it just looked like an empty room. It's kind of beige colored, nothing really special about it. When you look closely though, from certain angles, you could see a bookshelf of the same color as the floor, and it was completely empty. And when I looked at that, I was just kind of scratching my head, like, okay, what is this all about? And then Sylvie explained to us that this was like a really dramatic comment on the book burning session that occurred right in the same square as this transparent floor looking down into the empty bookshelf, and that, which is very cool.
Yeah. While of course this is art and isn't meant to be up for interpretation, one of the more popular interpretations, and the one that I found myself adhering to, is that the empty bookshelves represent all of the lost books because of the burnings, and that the fact that it is below everything represents that they are in some way dead, that they have entered, if you will, the underworld. And so I found that very powerful. Sylvie also mentioned that at night, if you came here, the room would be illuminated as it was during the day, and so you would see a glow coming up from the ground, which could, to some, look like a fire. Moving on from the old library, we went to the Hakasha Markt, which is a market for food and other vending items that is in East Berlin. There we had some shopping time and some time to eat. Colton, what did you think of Hakasha Markt?
I thought it was fairly good. There were plenty of tents and places to buy souvenirs. The surrounding area was chocked full of very nice stores, clothing outlets, and some good restaurants and cafes. It was a little more crowded than other parts of Berlin, but it was still very cool to experience. Mostly I ate there. I didn't buy anything. Actually, I bought candy.
One thing that Sylvie mentioned was that area of Berlin used to be the poorest in the entire city, and now it is one of the most affluent, as a lot of clothing shops have moved in and a lot of food places have moved in, and this gentrification really emphasizes once more how far the city has come since not 75 years ago, when more than 80% of it was destroyed. So that was fantastic and a great experience. Then after that we walked over a bridge to Museum Island itself that we mentioned earlier, and visited an exhibition on ancient architecture, particularly Sumerian architecture. Colton, what did you care to comment on this exhibition?
The museum, even just walking to the external portion, they had this really wonderful garden with some statues, and it was really nice there. The autumn leaves coming down, and these old statues there. It was very nice. But inside the museum, it was like, oh, it was big. Like, I didn't expect, like, from the outside, it didn't look like that big, but I walk in and you see the first artifact, and it's this giant, big, huge wall of this reconstructed piece, which was very cool. And they were very old pieces as well. They had some Egyptian, some Sumerian, and some Persian artifacts. Some that were very large, and some that were very small, like some clay tools and pots. But yeah, it was very cool to look at these artifacts. Some were very beautiful. Yes.
Yes, I also enjoyed that exhibit very much. One of my favorite parts about it was indeed the outside garden, where I saw a statue of Diana, and I found that particularly lovely. And it was really cool. She was in like this cool athletic pose, shooting a bow, goddess of the hunt and all that, and the moon, of course, because hunters hunt by the moon at night. So after we visited that exhibit on Museum Island, we headed back to the Hakasha Markt because Miss McFadden correctly predicted that we all would have liked some more time there. So we had some more shopping time. After an hour, we gathered once again. Did you do anything interesting at Hakasha Markt the second time?
We no.
Fair enough. I don't know, I did some shopping. I bought a hoodie for Dante.
I finished all my shopping. Yeah, I think I bought enough candy already, so we need to buy more.
Yeah, totally. Alright, so when we gathered, we were all led by Sylvie over to the Ampelman restaurant. If you remember Ampelman from yesterday's video, he is the character from the stoplights here in Berlin, and he looks a bit like this, with a hat, and he tells you when to go and when to stop. And so we went to the Ampelman restaurant, which was not super Ampelman themed. It was mostly in the name and the decoration.
It had
quite
some
nice.
Sugar things.
Yeah, the sugar little sugar packets were Ampelman designed, and they had red and green ones, and that was very cool. But the dinner was great. I liked it a lot.
I was a fan.
Yeah.
And I really liked the dessert.
Yeah, the dessert was fantastic.
The raspberry pie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very good. Afterwards, we came back to the hotel.
Yeah. We took a train, got off at Berlin Hauptbahnhof, and
for the last time.
For the last time, indeed, and took a bus back to our hotel, the Hotel Tiergarten, and then checked in for the night. And so that's our day. Thank you very much, Colton, for joining me.
Yeah.
And
tomorrow we're gonna be going home. So yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Good show, everybody. We'll see you soon.